Yo guys, it's your boy Dylan, and today, in about less than a week from now, the NFL will actually be kicking off the preseason with the Hall of Fame game on July 31st. But before we do that, we're actually going to take a step back and we're going to look back at and do a couple top 10s over the 2024 25 NFL season. But first, with the first top 10, we're going to be doing the top 10 best teams, in my opinion, on who I think were the best teams of the 2024-25 season. Now, before we get into the top 10, with this top 10, I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to take their regular season totals and combine them with their postseason win-loss totals. So, for example, we'll just get straight into it, starting with number 10, the Rams, 11-8. Technically, they were 10-7, but they won the wild card game and they lost the divisional playoff game to the Eagles, which they were actually one of the victims to the Eagles in the Eagles Super Bowl run, pretty much, if you want to think about it. So we're pretty much underway, so we'll just continue with number 9. Number 9, I have the Packers on here. Now, the Packers, for a second straight year, they were the 7th seed for the wild card. So, unfortunately, they unfortunately lost the wild card this time around. Because last time when they were the 7th seed in the wild card the season prior, they actually kicked the Cowboys' butts. But this time around, not so much, unfortunately. Like I said, they lost in the wild card pretty much. All right, number 8, the Los Angeles Chargers. They were 11-6 in the regular season, but 0-1 in the postseason. So that equals to a total of 11-7. But this is actually their first postseason under their new head coach, Jim Harbaugh. So Jim Harbaugh was their new head coach after firing that Brandon Staley dude that made the Chargers look like a horrible team. Like, after 2 years prior making a playoff year, then the next year they went down to 6-11, but they reversed it to an 11-6 record a year later under Jim Harbaugh. And hey, at least it resulted in a playoff. But the bad news is they suffered a wild card debacle, pretty much losing to the 32 to. And on a score of 32-12, they lost to the Houston Texans in the wild card round. So, I'd hate to be them. All right, moving on to number 7, I have the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens, the regular season record was 12-5, but postseason they were 1-1. So overall, they were 13-6. Now, the Ravens, I was getting concerned of them like in the first 2 games of the year because they started off 0-2. But then after that 0-2, after that little hump they had to get over, the Ravens just pretty much started winning more games a lot more often. Out of all teams in this list, in terms of who was like passing leaders for most passing TDs, which that's one of my favorite stats I like to talk about, Lamar Jackson recorded 41 passing TDs. And I think that might be a career high for him too. So, Lamar Jackson, very good in 2020 and 2024-25. They did beat the Steelers in the wild card playoff, but unfortunately, they lost to the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round. So, sucks losing to the Bills, I guess. But number 6, I have the Commanders. Their record in the regular season was 12-5, but in the postseason they were technically 2-1 because if you lose a game, you're done. So overall, their record was 14-6. But with their 12-5 season, honestly, this low-key is the surprise team of the year, in my opinion. Like, in my opinion, this team, the Washington Commanders, they surprised me the most in 2024-25 because they went 12-5 after the year prior. The Commanders were, I believe, 4-13. So they went 12-5 the next year. This past season. They beat the Buccaneers in the wild card. I believe I know they won the divisional round. They won the divisional round. And they were actually able to, they were for the first time since really the 90s. They went to the NFC title game. And fun fact, besides the Cowboys, everybody else, including the Commanders, have been to the NFC championship game, all but the Cowboys. That's an ironic fun fact there. But unfortunately, they just suffered a big crushing blow to the Eagles in the NFC championship game. But hey, an NFC championship game appearance, that is actually really good by the Washington Commanders. So good job there. Number 5, the Minnesota Vikings, 14-4. But regular season, by the way, this team was 14-3, but they were 0-1 in the postseason, so that's why overall they're 14-4. But a team that was supposed to be by J.J. McCarthy, unfortunately, J.J. McCarthy was hurt, so they had to go to one of their guys, Sam Darnold. And let me just tell you this: this team somehow, some way, with Sam Darnold, went 4-13. Although they would lose in the wild card. All that to lose in the wild card. Yeah. Hopefully J.J. McCarthy's first actual season this upcoming year, is going to be a success. So, hopefully. That's the best case scenario. All right. So, number 4. This one's probably going to be a debatable one right here. But number 4, I'm going to have the Buffalo Bills. You can kind of say this is another team. I had some slight doubts in the Bills season, in the 2024 season. I had some slight doubts with the Bills. But the Bills, this team in regular season went 13-4. Josh Allen, good as always. And one of their biggest key players that they didn't have, that they were able to find a way around it, was Stephon Diggs. They did not have Stephon Diggs. They had guys like Amari Cooper, Khalil Shakir. They had James Cook. They still have a good offense and a good defense too. This team won the wild card playoff to the Broncos. Then they beat the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional playoff. But unfortunately, they, as always, not always, but it seems like it, they lost to the Chiefs. This time in the AFC Championship game to the Kansas City Chiefs. Better luck next time, I guess, for the Bills. But number 4, now between number 4 and number 3, and even number 2 and number 1 are going to be very debatable, but they have their own separate parts. Number 3, the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, they recorded a 15-win season. 15 wins. Jared Goff, 37 passing TDs. This team kind of looked like the NFC favorites. Well, you want to know what happened? They lost to... Okay, this is where it comes up in my head, actually. They actually lost to the Commanders. They lost to the freaking Commanders in the NFC divisional round. All that, 15-2, one of the best, tied with the Chiefs for best record in a 17-game season. All for you to lose in the divisional round. That's just embarrassing. Honestly, like I said, these two teams, number 4 and number 3, are actually debatable. But the next two can also be debatable on their own ends, because number 2, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. They went 17-3, well, 15-2 in the regular season, just like the Lions. But in the playoffs, they were 2-1, because the Chiefs, they actually had a run as a 15-win team. They won the divisional round, AFC Championship game, but they lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So that is why I think the Chiefs are number 2. But that pretty much leaves me with the Eagles as the number 1 team in my top 10 rankings for best teams in the NFL from this past season. Now, with the Philadelphia Eagles, I did think almost, I wouldn't say like the Ravens, but like the first like 4 games, they were kind of back and forth. They'd win one, lose one. So almost kind of similar to how the 2023-24 season was, when they were good, but then like in the on the second half of the year and into the playoffs, they started becoming a bit more But after their 2-2 start for the first 4 games, the Eagles, they just went off on a run. Like, they literally just pretty much won out the entire year, pretty much. Minus 1 game. And that was in the regular season, obviously. Like, if I was to do the math here, because that's like 4 games, 10, and all that. Actually, I'm not going to even do the math on here. But let's be honest. This team just went on a run after their 2-2 start. They're like a force to be reckoned with. And like even in the playoffs, they won the wild card, I believe, to the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, I think to the Minnesota Vikings, one or the other. They won the wild card because they actually had to start in the wild card since Detroit was actually a 15-2 team. They beat Los Angeles, then they beat the Commanders, and then they walloped the Chiefs in the Super Bowl 40-22. So they did a crushing blow also against the Chiefs to pretty much win their second Super Bowl since the 2017, since Super Bowl 52, pretty much. So that is really it for now. Oh, and I need to break down the record too before I finish it off. They're 14-3, but 18-4 because they literally won out the postseason. You can pretty much say. I believe they're like the 3rd team to do that. Go from 3rd or 4th team. So there's been teams that have been pretty much going from wild card to whatchamacallit. I mean, it's a bigger bracket now. So really, until then, that is it for now. And until then, if you guys want to see more top 10 content like this, then please smash the subscribe button and smash the like button. Comment if you want to see something else. Comment if you think combining the records is a good thing and you think I should do that next year for the top 10. But until then, I will see you guys in the next episode. So, see ya.